into this panel group, those that were not initially saddled or scheduled for this presentation or for this group, but will also be taking them. If there's anybody who is part of that, you are sent here, you have a paper for presentation, but you were not initially scheduled. Please, within the next 2 minutes, 3 minutes, can I see you? Is there anyone? If you are sent here to join this panel group, please can you indicate? Let me see you. And I have not taken cognizance of. Okay, as they come, let me also recognize and bring forth the rapporteur for this panel 3, Ms. Busari Akimbode. Let's put our hands together for her. Please, you can just take your seat. Yeah, I want to appreciate us and also request that we'll have 10 minutes per each presentation. 10 minutes per each presentation. I think we can do it this way. For now, we have about 7 presenters or people that are set for presentation. As they come in, we will also accommodate them. But for the time being, we can take 3 at the first instance. Then we will take our time to discuss each of those presentations. If we are asking questions, we are making contributions, we are making observations, please we'll make them as brief as possible. We are working with social work principles. We are not condemning. We are not destroying. We are building. That's the essence of making contributions and observations. So we also have to be moderate with our language and our contributions. All what we are trying to do is to improve, and make sure the quality of each paper is reflecting social work quality. And when that is done, and they are published, even when external persons go through those papers in our journals, they will know that those papers are worth publishing. And if also observations are made, corrections are made on your presentation, please take it as an academic exercise. There's nobody who is perfect, no paper that is perfect. And our contributions are meant to improve the quality of your presentation and your paper. Having said that, I want to remind us that this session is taking reimagining and reforming social work education to meet contemporary social challenges. That is the theme, the sub-theme for this presentation or for this session. And what are we looking at? It is expected that at the end of every paper or every presentation, we will have a rethink. We will have certain inputs. We will have certain contemporary checkmates in trying to look at the methods, ways, and dimensions of reforming social work education within the ambits of our contemporary social challenges, both in Nigeria, Africa, and the global society. So we will have you take the paper very sharply, give us the nucleus of it, and probably give us a conclusion. Each paper must have a drive to where we intend to go. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. May I request that Mrs. Olagunju Temitope Oluwa Bokula should please step forward. The presentation will be on examining the influence of social workers on the social and emotional intelligence of learners in the Nigerian educational system. Do we have Mrs. Olagunju here? Is Mrs. Olagunju here? Okay. While we await Mrs. Olagunju's arrival, there's the second one, social labs, students' experiences within an innovative approach to social work practicum by Timothy Opobo. Also, part of that presentation will be Professor Eric Awich, Dr. Feminus Mogumya, and Agatha Kafulo. We will take 10 minutes, and as you step up here, your time begins now. Let's put our hands and encourage Mr. Timothy for his presentation.
Thank you very much, our moderator. The technical people, are you able to? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. Is it? Yeah, it's good afternoon. My name is Timothy Opobo. I'm a PhD student from Makerere University in Uganda, Kampala. And I'm going to be presenting on an innovation that has come out of the Department of Social Work and Social Development in Makerere University. I want to acknowledge Professor Eric Awich, who is my supervisor, but also the brains behind this Social Labs project that I'm going to speak about. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so that is the outline I'm going to use in the interest of time. Let's just move to the next slide. In terms of background, we are all aware that the social work profession encompasses both practice and the academic side of things. And in my presentation, I'm going to be focusing more at the practice aspect. Earlier this morning, we listened on the value of having our social work students get the practical skills to be able to address the social problems that are existing across our communities. One very important factor that still stands is the colonial legacy of social work education still reflects in a lot of our academic curriculum. And from the study that was done by Professor Genestik and Professor Nielsen, part of the findings from East Africa indicated that we are still relying 62.3% or 62.5% of the material being used is material from the global north. And this then speaks to the topic and the need for us to indigenize so that we have more local knowledge feeding into our curriculum, feeding into social work practice. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, so we are talking about indigenization of social work. And I thought it would be very important to just briefly mention that when we talk about indigenization, we are not saying that we just throw away everything that has come from the global north. But we are talking about integration of local knowledge, our cultural values, and our practices into our education, looking at those positive aspects that we can tap into as we do the social work practice. Next slide. I'm going to move fast in the interest of time. So my focus was to delve into this concept of social labs, to share with you from the experience of students what they were able to do in this innovative approach of social work practice. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. So I'm going into this innovation. So as I mentioned, when we talk about a social lab, looking at some of the literature that is available out there, Hassan in 2014 So, I checked in with the students to find out what was their own understanding of this concept of social labs. And these are some of the feedback from the students. So students referred to this as an experiment that involves applying different approaches and applying their classroom knowledge to try to address issues practically. So one of the quotes there is that social labs means community engagement with different stakeholders to find solutions affecting the community. Another said that their chemists and scientists have laboratories where they practice their things and chemicals and stuff. So social workers, that's when we go to the field, and that's our practical part of it. So that is their understanding, that our as social workers, the community is actually the lab. Next slide. In terms of the understanding of what is the rationale or what is the need for these social labs, the students appreciated that the labs were important in fostering a positive relationship between the university and the communities where they were placed. In this instance, the students were actually representing the social work department, and this was helping improve on the relationship or foster a relationship between the university and the communities. And there is a quote said, by engaging the communities, we learned a lot from them. Sometimes we quickly point out that on things, not knowing the actual reality. But when we went to the ground, at least we were able to learn from those people, and that has also helped us to know more about what is happening there. And that's an aspect of indigenization, being able to understand aspects from the community perspective. Next slide. Yes, and the students compared this social labs approach with the conventional approach where we place students in institutions or in NGOs to work. Not that the other is bad, but this social labs approach where the students are inside the community, working with the community, seem to add more value. A quote there says, first of all, they said it's hands-on, and they were able to acquire practical skills. Then the level of interaction between the students and communities was a distinguishing factor, because here the students are directly working with the communities. Said, I think social labs is making us learn better. We're able to prove practical knowledge we are taught in class. For example, the theories, the socio-ecological, etc. So this was a student appreciating the social lab. Can I know how much more time I have? Yeah, I don't have. Let's go to the last slides, because I think that's what's going to be important. Yes, just to stop their challenges. Go back. I just want to highlight some. Go back to challenges. Yes, just to mention that the next slide, challenges, yes, that one. That this model is not void of some challenges. One, the students said there are high expectations from the community. Of course, these are university students. Then there was, in sometimes, a clash and the challenges around social norms for the students to be able to navigate the cultural setting. Then it requires time to be able to build a relationship with the community. Unfortunately or fortunately, the students are time bound. So many of them were only in the communities for 10 weeks. Then logistical challenges, of course, that is always a challenge. And then one of the other aspects that was a gap was the systematic documentation, looking at what can we learn from the field that we can infuse into curriculum, because we are talking about indigenization. Let me go to the conclusion. So these are just some of the key things. That this particular model was conceptualized by academics in the global south. So that is one aspect already showing indigenization, that this is a model that is grassrooted. The second is that unlike traditional internship models, the labs were spearheaded by local scholars, I have said, that are well versed with our local challenges. It is not only the students with the knowledge from class, but they were also able to learn from the experiences of the community. They realized the wealth of wisdom the community offered. And so it was a two-way exchange. So tapping into community knowledge, which is indigenization. Next slide. Should be the last, I hope. Yes, so the model underscores a pivotal aspect for indigenization of social work education. It offers a framework where solutions can intricately are woven with the fabric of the community, reflecting its unique attributes, values, and strengths. So in this engagement, the community is not passive, but an active participant. Just to give you examples, the students would actually go into a community, discuss with the community what are the issues. For example, they will say we have a high school dropout rate. And then they sit with the community and say, what can we do about this without external resources? So this model created a lot of sustainability. In one school, for example, the parents said the children were dropping out because they were unable to pay the school fees. But when they sat with the students, they came up with a solution. They said, if every week we save 1,000 Uganda shillings for the term, by the time the term ends, we shall have raised the school fees for the next term. So they set up a saving scheme. And through this process, in the next term, almost all the parents were able to have their children enrolled back in school. So that's an example of a local solution, sustainable from the community, just facilitated by the social workers. So this is a model that we are continuing to learn from, and it's what I wanted to share with you here today. Thank you very much.
Let's encourage him by making it louder and better. Thank you, our presenter. Remember, our bottom line remains that we'll take each presentation for 10 minutes. We'll take questions, we'll take observations, we'll take queries and contributions after the first 4 presentation. Okay, we'll try to be as fast as we can. We want to appreciate this erudite presentation. We'll make a summary, a synopsis of the entire thing in details when we are through with them. But very, very briefly, it's an exposition as to the value of field practicum and the quality of what steps, measures, and processes that had been engaged or understudied, especially in Uganda, where he undertook the study. It is also necessary to emphasize that the presentation was tilted towards empowering, encouraging, and emphasizing the indigenization approach to social work activities. And that had also given us an idea about the fact that to a greater level, the percentage dimension of scholarship and scholastic work, even in literature, is still tilted towards about 80% of colonial aspect of social work practice. And the presenter, I think, has a submission that it is better to re-emphasize and propagate the indigenization process in order to change the trajectories of field practicum at the various aspects. And of course, we saw the findings, we saw the conclusion, and that showed that the students that were sent out there from the Makerere University now proved that there was a joyful collaboration, and the community people also felt the need that they were carried along, they were recognized, and now it became an improved dimension to say that both culture and social trajectories can beef up what social work activity should be, especially in Africa, and that will improve more. Usually there are challenges, and those challenges almost cut across every dimension of the practice. Some of those challenges, well, when you talk about time frame, that's one of those things in research. You talk about logistics, yes, you will get those challenges there. But and all, what we didn't see as a major challenge was that there was no dichotomy between the indigenous community people in the two major communities that were researched in, to say that we didn't want this process. Everyone enjoyed it, and so those challenges became a plus to the research. And let's encourage him again this morning. Let's encourage him. No, you are not doing it as if you are happy this morning. Thank you so much, my presenter. We will return to you. Please note your comments, note your observations. We'll take them very shortly. Now, let's go ahead and let me request, the next presentation will be that the lead presenter is Professor Nwana, Mrs. Alexander, and others are part of it. And that presentation will be for social work education and disabilities, a justification for inclusive curriculum. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Professor Awana and her presentation. Yes. It's online. Do the technical, do you have their slides? Okay. Alexander. While they are trying to sort out is this part of the team? The name here is part of the team? Grace, we can see you. Unmute yourself, and you have 10 minutes to do your presentation, and your time begins now. Thank you. Please unmute yourself. Sorry? Yeah, you can go on. Grace, if you can hear us, just wave to us. While we are waiting the technical team to come on and connect with Grace, is Miss Saudatu Habibu here? Okay. Can you hear us? Grace, can you hear us?
Have you seen my editor? Because I'm not seeing it on the screen.
You get yours and share the slides with us.
Share your own.
Share your slides with us.
So why are they asking us to
Don't worry, just relax. Take it easy. You come on. We'll readjust your time. Just take it easy.
yesterday, and they said I should, which I thought they're going to share it.
Okay, don't worry. Just go on. Don't worry. When it's done, we'll take her. Is Saudatu here? Okay. We will take the next presentation, which is physical, and as soon as the technical team sort out with Grace. She's sharing her screen. No, we can't put it here now. You can't hold it.
Social work education and disability justification for inclusive curriculum. I'm presenting it in collaboration with Mrs. Sophia Busari Akimbode and Professor Uwana, who is the head of social work department. So my name is Mrs. Grace Alexander. I'm the CEO. I'm a trained social worker as well in England. I'm also the CEO of Star Children Development Initiative in United Kingdom and in Nigeria as well. So then one of the things is that the main objective of this paper is to explore the social work education curriculum for disability studies. And such service provider, inclusive social workers, do not have adequate knowledge of disability. In the course of developing the standard operating procedure for gender-based violence in integrated service provision for women with disability, it was observed that disability studies is not inculcated in the curriculum for social work education. So this informed our curiosity to assess the National University Commission NUD benchmark minimum academic standard BMS for undergraduate studies, adopting the secondary sources of data collection. The paper examined the BMAS is an acronym, and justify why disability should be included in the curriculum. So the result reveals that social work curriculum is deficient and does not have any specific course on disability. Rather, there is a course titled Social Work with Minorities. So next slide, I'm going to present the next slide, which is the issues for concern. So now we are going to ask what is disability? So the disability is a complex term. Disability is a complex term. The issue for concern is that social work is actually embedded in disability is part of people who are oppressed. They are vulnerable. They are the most people with poor, who are mostly disadvantaged, according to the World Health Organization. So, and one of the things is that in Nigeria, according to WHO, that is World Health Organization, more than 1 billion persons of
Presentation was quite what the coin. Let's put our hands together again. Now, also in recognition of this peculiar set of persons, the presenter had been able to articulate very concisely the importance of carrying everybody along in line with the trend of social work practice, Ubuntu, leaving no one behind. And from all that had been said, it is important for us to note that the curriculum must, as a matter of necessity, incorporate the disability, those with disability. And she has been able to expose us to the various types of disabilities, the approaches, and recommending the various aspects of what should be done by the users. And by extension, talking about the users is a dual perspective that will look at the practitioners and even those that manages these individuals with their special needs. And we should be able to look at them from a multidimensional perspective, which they also represent. And once that is done, it is also clear that we'll be able to manage and move along with those that are challenged from their various aspects. Remember, the presentation also made us to understand that in applying the principles for which these individuals could be reached out and spoken to or be rehabilitated, that the general principles of social work practice, as a matter of fact, with an extension of giving each of them or each persons within the ambit or the sector of this aspect, giving them the sense of belonging, creating an atmosphere for them to see their worth as living individuals and people that have a stake in the society. And I think the social workers are best suited to provide such succor. Let's put our hands together for that presentation. It was wonderful. Now, do we have the first presenter, somebody who would have taken the first presentation, examining the influence of social workers on... Okay, sorry, before we get to that one, let's take Miss Sandatu Habibu Aliyu and her team. Sandatu Habibu. Sorry? Okay, Sauda, for short. Yeah, she's, please sit down. Let me properly introduce you. We will be taking her in the next 10 minutes, and her presentation, she's standing in as the lead presenter. She will be talking to us on appraisal of the implementation of auxiliary social work certificates program in Kano State Polytechnic and its effect in social work practice in Kano State. Let's encourage her as we welcome Saudu, for short. Sauda.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saudat Habib Aliyu. Saudat, I'm the lead presenter for this paper. The paper is with Abubakar Aliyu Datti and Zainab Shukubago Bashir Usman. Two of us are lecturers from the Polytechnic. And next slide, please. Okay, let me just continue before these things get settled, okay? I just have some introductions about social work. We know that social work is a helping profession, and it has different perspectives and core values, principles, and all that. And that we as social workers, we go to places where there is need. The felt need of the people are the priority. So social work practice enhances and maintains, restores the social function and promotes social justice of individuals, families, groups, communities, organizations, and the whole community at large. So let's go to the next slide. So the importance of this social work and to encourage the workforce of social workers in Kano State. There was a collaboration with partnership with Auxiliary Social Work in Nigeria, American International Health Alliance, Training for Health Support Initiative Nigeria, and the Society for Family Health, United States Agency for Information Development. They developed a curricula for auxiliary social work programs. It was headed by the Society International Child Health and Social Service Award, ISA 3. They were the ones that developed a curricula to have an auxiliary social work program for auxiliary social workers that were working with communities. And the curricula was, in order to give this curricular recognition, they had an alliance with Polytechnic, Kano State Polytechnic, and they went to the Department of Social Development that is situated at Kano State Polytechnic. It's situated in Rano, Kano State. And they had a collaboration with them. They gave them some training so that they would have the capacity to give others the training. Because the curricula was developed, it was new. The lecturers there had to know what the curricula was about. We had to do some editing and input of some certain things because they were not sensitive with cultural background and certain things and issues because there were certain things that were particular to our culture that was not incorporated there. So we had to sit down and iron out some certain things. Then the program began. It was staged under our the first certificate program was organized by the consultancy program under Kano State Polytechnic, and lectures began on the 6th of August 2022. Next slide, please. So the objectives of this study was to evaluate the implementation of the program, the ASW certificate program, and to examine the impact of the social work practice acquired by the students, So, next slide, please. So, I think I should just move on because this one is, let's go to methodology. Methodology, please, because of time, right? So it was a case study design that was used, the qualitative design in which the researcher explores the program event activities of what happened. So the sample of the study were the first participants of that particular program. There were 54 students there. They had facilitators, and there were 7 facilitators and 3 instructors were in charge of overseeing the program. Then samples were randomly selected because we had a list of students, so they were just chosen randomly. And so 2 designs were 2, what do we call them? Research instruments were used. One was a focus group discussion. That was for the participants, the students, and then an interview with the facilitators. So next slide. Next slide. Okay. So I'll just go to the summary of the findings. So it was during the interview with the organizers of the program, they were satisfied, even though there were some hitchbacks, Nigerian factor, because when a program begins, there are always some certain issues, and since we're not the ones that were taking the program fully, it was under the consultancy unit, we had certain issues and problems with logistics and all that. But even though, after that, we were able to have the 54 students that were there, we had lectures with them, they went for practicum, we went to visit them. These certain students that registered with us were students that they were auxiliary, they were workers with NGOs and even state government, but they're working under social welfare services, but they didn't have the knowledge of social work, but they were just there working voluntarily. So this program that we gave them, it helped them build certain issues and have an insight to how to do linkages and programs with their communities that they used to work with. One of the students that was there said she was really happy with the program because she didn't know how to link up with the community leaders and all those advocacies that were meant to be done before entering a program. She'll go there, she was Yoruba, and it's a Hausa community. She goes to a village, they cannot speak Yoruba, they cannot speak English properly, and she could not communicate, so she didn't even know how to make the connection. So what we were telling her, that the easiest way is to go to the district head, you have people that will help you organize the people that you're looking for and all that. So she was really happy. So in the end of the program, the students were really happy. They were encouraged about what social work was. Some were saying that they were going to enroll with our HND programs, ND programs, so that they will be they will be certified social workers and all that. So the summary of the findings revealed that the implementation of the ASW certificate program by the Kano State Polytechnic was successful. Even with a few setbacks, both students and facilitators expressed satisfaction for achievements recorded. Then the students' output in dealing with social problems and vulnerable clients has improved with the acquired skills and knowledge of social work, ethical principles, processes, and practice. So next slide, please. So conclusion, social work and social welfare is a practice that seeks to improve the quality of life and well-being of individuals and communities by intervening through research, policy formation, community organization, direct practice. and education on behalf of those afflicted with poverty, crisis, social justice, violation of their fundamental human rights, and all that, then this cannot be achieved without additional workers that are willing to help in curtailing the felt needs of the people. Auxiliary social workers can only help if they are giving training, the skills to have these certain issues. Thus, the ASW certificate program is an important instrument of effective social welfare delivery of service. Next slide, please. So it was recommended that the Kano State Polytechnic management should improve on logistics for more improved teaching and learning activities for the program and even other programs. The SW certificate program should be upgraded so that students can enroll into national diplomas in social work, because it's just a certificate program, and the MBTE recommendation will not give them they will not give them, no, there's a certificate, but they will not give them admissions into national diploma. So the students were saying that they will want this certificate program to have like a linkage so that they can further their education with social work. Thank you very much for listening.
Please, let's encourage her again. Let's make it louder. Thank you, Ms. Saudatu Habibu Aliyu. Yes, let's clap for me now. Clap for me. I needed to get it right so that she doesn't shortchange me. Yeah, thank you so very much. And very importantly, from our presentation, she made us understood the entire thing. That particular dimension of the program, the auxiliary social work dimension, was muted, with a drive, as a result of the core principles, ethics, and values of social work, just to make sure that people that are saddled with the helping responsibilities are not only made available to render philanthropic services, but to also be tutored into the basic principles that guides such helping services. And there was a partnership that was initiated by the American International Health Alliance, principally carried by the Twin Health Organization, that introduced that. And their major objective was to examine the effect of that program, in social work practice. And the Polytechnic took that responsibility, and this group took the responsibility to do a research on that. And remember, our sister mentioned that the basic instrument they used was the qualitative instrument, which made use of the focus group discussion and the in-depth interviewing process. Now you should also be able to note that the summary of the findings, according to the paper presentation, was that it was a process, a project well delivered. The students were also desirous. They understood that they were rendering philanthropic services. They were rendering development services, not social work services, until they were exposed to the ethics and principles of social work. And so it became a driving force for every one of them to begin to desire that they want to move out from ordinary certification to a core dimension of practitioners that are made to change the trajectories. And they couldn't also understand the ways to enter the communities until when they understood these basic principles in terms of community development. And they made their submissions and recommendations, both from the aspect of professionalism, scholarship, and for the management of that particular program alongside other programs. And by implication, ensured that if the Polytechnic will listen to them, they should make logistic provisions for the physical, structural improvement and content improvement, so that they can be able to have a lead way for those students who graduate from certificate to diploma and by extension to become probably basic bachelor science or HND graduates, that is higher diploma graduates. When that is done, the level of quackery, I'm sure, will reduce. Let's put our hands together for that presentation. It was quite informative, and want to appreciate the presenters for this. Having said this, we also have very quickly our time manager. Please be, you are engrossed in writing. You're not. Let's manage the time very effectively, because I would like us to make use of the discussion time, although it's also limited. We have taken 4 presentations. Is this the 4th? This is the 3rd one. This is the 4th one. We took the 4th one. We are going to take the 4th one now. Okay. Do we have Yemisi here? Yemisi? Yeah, we will take the presentation of Yemisi, promoting education in Rivers State, the role of the workbook initiative and Edu Plus Foundation. Let's encourage her by putting our hands together. Let's make it louder, please. Let's make it louder. Thank you so much, and you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, my prof. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yemisi Jetulua, the lead team for the Workbook Initiative and Edu Plus Foundation. The aim of this paper is to help learning not restricted in every area in River States, especially in the swamp and riverine areas. And in line with the SDG 4.5, the foundation is concerned about the aspect of quality education and gender inequality. Next slide, please. Go ahead. Introduction. I want to take you on a journey into the world where every child's dream, no matter where they come from, education should not be restricted. I want to also introduce the organization to you that is trying to redefine education but changing lives. This organization is the Workbook Initiative and Edu Plus Foundation. Imagine a world where every child, regardless of every of their social, economical background or geographical location, has equal opportunity to receive education. You can, with the pictures over there, we had to travel, by boat, go to the riverine area where children don't have access to education, in quotes. I stand to be corrected. Even when the schools are there built to them, they are not encouraged to go to school. All they know how to do best is go fishing, go farming. They are not encouraged to go to school. And then when they try to go to school, even their parents will discourage them not to go. They prefer to use them to do 1 or 2 business to help the family instead of going to school. Education is widely recognized as a powerful tool for personal and societal advancement. It opens doors to opportunities, broadens horizon, and empowers individuals to reach out their full potentials. The foundation is an organization that is dedicated to addressing these issues and fostering holistic development. This paper is going to help us shed more light on strategies and initiatives to underpin its mission. Next slide, please. Now, looking at this picture, it tells a lot about what the foundation is doing, especially trying to remove barriers to education. In our studies, when we go to these communities, we found out that some of the parents will tell you, if I had money to buy my child uniform to go to school, this child would have been in school. If I have the money to buy the footwear, if I have the bag, if I have the shoes, the footwear to wear. If I have the desks, when we go to the schools, they ask us, pay money for desks for the children to sit. I went to a community in Ahoda, Ihiaba precisely, where children come to school with their kitchen stool. And at the end of the class for the day, they go back with their kitchen stool. Every day they carry it. Some come from the next community. going to school with their own kitchen stool. So if they don't, for parents that don't have the kitchen stool, or the mother is saying, today you can't go with my kitchen stool, that child will sit on the floor to learn. One of the principles of the foundation is to remove barriers to education. We firmly believe that financial constraints should not hinder a child's access to education. To make this a reality, the foundation provides the following resources. We give them books, we give them stationaries, school sandals, the uniform, and then most importantly, the personal hygiene pack. Funny enough, we've had situations where we had girls in the secondary school not come to school because of menstruation, their menstruation cycle. And then they are saying, in fact, one of them that I interviewed that touched my heart was when she told me that she never had, that the cloth she used for her menstrual cycle was not dried, so she had to stay in the house. She doesn't have the one to use for the next day. And I was like, what kind of clothes? She said she cut her mother's wrapper to use. And then that made me go back home, to my team, and I said, look, there's another aspect apart from teaching them mass English in the classroom, which is the personal hygiene, especially for the girl child. So many diseases we have all over today is not from the home. It's not from my mother-in-law don't like me, my family is doing me, one vulgar juju or the other. It's on personal hygiene, on how these girls are not taught very well on how to take care of themselves. So we also provide that packs for them. And then we also do teachers training, because we do train the trainer. Because when we leave that community and then there's nobody to continue what we've been, saying or what we've been doing, there's no way we can have impact. Next slide, please. And then, like you can see too, the children that didn't have books to use. So we also have something we call the workbook. It's substitute for the textbook, where you don't have to carry the mass English, home economics, agricultural textbooks together. So we have all of this in work form, like a workbook that they go home with. Next slide, please. Next, please. And then we do the inclusive education too. I was thrilled when I watched the presenter online when she talked about the disabilities. These children should not be restricted to education. It's not their fault that some of them were born disabled. It's not their fault. So we include them, especially children that have the special needs issues. We include them. We make sure that we talk to those that are experts in that areas to come in and help those children, especially with the speech therapy thing. So we also do that too. Next slide, please. Enhancing education quality. Quality education is a fundamental right. It's not a luxury for every child. It's not a luxury at all. So to achieve this, the foundation invests in two critical areas: teachers training method, innovative teaching method. Teachers training is a cornerstone of education improvement. Skilled and motivated educators are essential to delivering quality education. That's the main thing. Not just education, but quality education. The foundation supports teachers training program because these teachers need to be aware of what they are doing. Next slide, please. Skill development too. This was where we were teaching them for this particular school. The children did not have, in fact, only one of them out of like 115 that said she had ever used the sanitary towel. And it was amazing. Next slide, please. And then the foundation also believe in holistic development. Every child is not just acquiring knowledge. It's also about personal growth, leadership skill, and character building. Once we had a collabo with the Rotary Club, and then we were able to teach the children differently, not using the normal method of the teacher coming in front of the children and just delivering. Have you copied everything on the board? You say yes. Okay, this is your assignment. Submit your assignment tomorrow. No, we try to make sure. we try to make sure that 3 minutes. We try to make sure that we monitor and monitoring is another vital component of our holistic development. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the Workbook Initiative and EduPlus Foundation is a good example of an organization committed to empowering individuals through education and personal growth. The foundation's overall philosophy ensures that students are not only acquiring knowledge, but also developing confidence, responsible and compassionate contributors to their society. In a world where education remains a powerful catalyst for change, organizations like the Workbook Initiative and EduPlus Foundation play a crucial role in creating brighter and more equitable future for all. This unwavering commitment to education and personal development is an inspiring reminder to all of us dedicated to do the right strategy. We can empower individuals to reach out their full potential, becoming leaders and change makers of tomorrow. Let's also remember that education is the bedrock of every nation. The child in the school today are the future of our tomorrow. Teachers and trainers should also remember that quality education should be the gateway for every child. Learning not restricted. Thank you.
Let's make it louder. Let's make it louder. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. And that is principally for me, this is one of the major drive of this social work profession. We are not only taking academic papers, we are taking practice-based experiences. And this is quite important. Let's clap again for this group. Yeah, basically, the entire process was tilted towards identifying a deprived segment of individuals within the confines of that particular state. And more intriguing is their emphasis in working with the rural of the rural communities, where there are no roads, there are no social amenities, you can't even access the place except you have a dying commitment towards ensuring development. And it will interest you to know that the area for which these programs are being carried out is so volatile a place with high level of security risks. And the major underpin is that the entire thing, the community, the families, the parents don't see anything. It's a waste sending children to school or empowering them. And so what they do is to replicate the poverty dimension that has hovered around the community settings over the children, allowing the children to inherit the poverty dimension from their psychic to their behavioral pattern. And when they saw this, they said, no, the trajectory must change. If it must change, there are processes for which that must change. And the foundation decided to look at one minute aspect of the development level, and that has to do with the fundamental aspect of human development or child development, which is scholarship, which is education, by providing what they think they don't have to provide for the students or for the children to be in school. What will be the importance of buying books, of sending a child to school? And that is part of what one of our presidents, former presidents in this country, said when he went to school, he was in school without a sandal to wear. And that research and this organization are also working within that geographical region. You can see that that was not just a political ploy, but it was a reality of what actually is taking place in our rural communities. Now, emphasis was to enhance their methods of qualitative education. It was not just mere provision of education. It was on a two-prong, looking at how to develop those children and also training the trainers. The teachers must also note that they must undergo certain dimensions of training, because they have also lived in that those communities, and so they have a mindset that it doesn't matter. You can even sit on the floor in order to be confused that you are being taught, and they have to teach the teachers that this and this are what we need you to know. And as the teachers know this, they now replicate that, and that is the easiest way to learn and to impact knowledge. We want to appreciate them. Though the time was short, she couldn't really exhume the challenges, but I think I've identified one major challenge or two challenges in that area: the challenge of accessibility, the challenge of perceived poverty. I call it perceived poverty because the people are not poor. They generate materials, they generate money, and yet they have a mentality of poverty, and so they lived like the poor people. But however, I am sure with the conclusion that she gave to us, there is an improvement in the psychic nature of those that are there. The children too have imbibed the new dimension of being desirous to be educated. And I think for me, that is one of the major achievements of that organization. Please, let's put our hands together for them. Let's encourage them again. Now, I want to please quickly call, is Mrs. Ola Gunju here? Is it Mrs. Ola Gunju? No, you're a man now. I wouldn't call you Mrs. Ola Gunju, is Ola Gunju here? Temi Tokwe? Is anybody part of that paper? No. Okay, we will take the next 20 minutes to do a discussion. Now, you could make your contributions and please direct specifically to the presentation so that we can square the contributions and take the reactions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go in that order. No, after this 5, we don't expect to have any other one. Okay, let's start with our... No, I didn't see her. Reverend Sister, you want to ask question, contribute? Yes, by the priestly nature, I can allow you to do that. So let's start with him. We'll take 1, take 2, and we move like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the moderator. Okay, thank you very much, the moderator. Paradoxically, my question will first go to the moderator because my yes, okay. My name is Ifws David. I'm head of Department, Federal University of Lafayette, Social Work. My question will first go to my moderator. If he can give me clarification before I can go, just like comments on this paper, very interesting papers. He said the presentation here is not just academic, but experience. Because I observed that from the presentation, most of them did not take academic structure. And then when he said that is my experience, I was then confused. Because like the first presenter, he talks about the focus group discussion. But could not tell us how the focus group discussion was used. He said it's a qualitative study. What were the tools that were used as a qualitative study? And what did you drive from using the qualitative study? The justification of using the focus group discussion as a qualitative study was not stated. And so that is one thing. That's the first presenter. But when the moderator can clear us, then inside the two. Okay. Can we so that we can look at these papers from, I don't even understand what he meant by academic experience and academics. So, but if
okay, it's a question. Let me just go there.
If it's an experience, I think they should take a structure so that we can build on as an academic paper.
Well, you will note that your observation is okay. You will note that they are within a time frame of 10 minutes. And you cannot just, it's a synopsis of what they are presenting. And now taking into the first presentation is academic. The last presentation is practice, and that squares it. Now what you need to do is to get the details of the paper. He has highlighted the methodology for which that particular presentation was muted out, and that was why he said is a summary of his PhD work. Okay, and so we can excuse the details of such because the time frame was short. Yeah, that's why we can excuse that. Thank you. But at least if you see an academic presentation, there are major areas of where, so you can as well, if possible, if he had presented that and you needed to find out the other nitty-gritties, you can still ask him. He can just go straight to it. But remember, we are working within the time frame, and so he wouldn't have gone into details. Okay. I don't know whether I'm speaking the mind of the, because we are not jointly presenting the paper. I only moderated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, then this the one you have mentioned. Can we say as social workers, he has succeeded in solving the problem of those people? Because maybe in her study, the focus of the study may be different from what I'm looking at. Because I feel that when you experience a problem in that kind of situation, because the focus, what you are focusing on is Western education. And you talk about them not being educated. But what the kind of education they have is informal education. Now, when we're talking about what is happening now, dramatically you saw what happened when someone got his certificate and set them on fire. That he went to school and is now working with people who are not educated. So let him wipe off the situation of having certificate and suffering with people who have never gone to school. So in situations like that, what do you do? So I was feeling that both informal and formal education should be introduced to save these people from telling them that formal education is still very necessary. But since you cannot have formal education without informal, because these people are using the informal education to support them to get the education, and they should be encouraged. So I don't know whether as social workers we have succeeded in solving those people's problem. Because you see, if you read this book, The Rich Dad and the Poor Dad, they symbolize the professor as a poor man. Because what they are saying in essence is that as far as you are on fixed income earner, professor is a poor man because he's on fixed income. Therefore, if someone can, not even innovation, if someone can embark on informal education to survive the system, I think he should be encouraged. And that he can work better on the formal education to amplify or to enhance the informal education. And then by that, if we can do that, then we have succeeded in solving that person's or that community's problem as a social worker. Because I feel that by emphasizing the Western education alone, we may not help them enough.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's take other contributions. The various presenters can also respond in 2 minutes. Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Christian Osegale. Mine is just to contribute to the work, to make it better. You know, work that are in progress. We need to help them facilitate it to grow. You know, the first presenter, you talked to us on how community were studied. I don't know whether you have it in your work, how you identify the problem before you went there. If it's not there, it's important. Because you cannot just enter a community without knowing that they have a problem. You start providing solution. You know, the woman that talked about disability, I don't know if she have it. I think Madam is here now. She needs to emphasize, too, that government has not neglected disabled or this person with disability, however. So, because we are aware that today, when you want to conduct election in Nigeria, government have made provision for those persons. In some state and in federal government, they are employing most of them. So she needs to make it available in her work so that it can be well and rich. Then the auxiliary, I think, I don't know, maybe it's a work or it wasn't, but I want to suggest. I happen to have understand that many professional associations in Nigeria have been fighting the position of auxiliary. I happen to do auxiliary pharmacy for 5 years. they refused that I must practice as auxiliary pharmacist. After some time, they now agree to license me to operate as a patent medicine dealer. So community medicine dealer. I'm awaiting today, the nursing council is still fighting the auxiliary nursing. They are still fighting. And that is why the auxiliary company has not been able to set up an association to date. The doctors fought their own. And I think if we are talking of professionalism, social work should, I think we have professors here. If we're talking of curriculum, stand your ground. We should fight that nomenclature. But it's like some try to coin it para. But since we want to break them from where they are, because they are in the field, we can call them case worker. But calling them up auxiliary social worker, then we the professors and the stakeholders in our midst, we need to navigate to the level of understanding that our profession has grown. The world is not a global village. So we need to even start learning to put a stop to allowing those with diploma to be a professional social workers. That is the starting point, which is good. They must understand that they need to navigate to a higher level. That person that talked about disability earlier, I understand that she was, I like her dexterity. It needs to be legalized. It needs to have a academic base. I found myself in that position. I graduated in 2007, degree in social work. I refused to work. I decided to be a freelance social worker. For 16 years, I discovered the whole work I was doing pro bono. I set up a business, I make money, and do social work practice.
Please
with my pay.
Summarize your.
I discovered that the work of social worker is based 90% conflict resolution. So I decided to let me go and do my PhD in peace and conflict resolution. There was no school in Nigeria. Maybe it's available now, I don't know. That is social work department or social work training people in peace and conflict resolution. I think that is where she is coming from too. She may have passion for people with disability. So the school need to inculcate it in their session. Then the aspect of the education I wanted to talk about, my Oga here have said it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's please you introduce yourself and make your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a privilege to be here. My name is Olu Joshua Titilayo. From Lagos State University. I'm a master's student in Department of Social Work. I have a question. The first one is to the first presenter, Mr. Timothy. Currently, we were posted to our practicum, a place of practicum. And then I went there yesterday while I was on my way here. And when I got there, they seemed confused. They don't even know how to help me or what to do. So they had to give me their email that I should send them an email explaining what I want for them. Even though I went there with a letter from my school, letting them know that I'm here for field work between 3 to 6 months. So my question is, I've not sent that email because I don't even know what to send. So my question is, what is the responsibility of private sectors? You know, I believe that government's parastatals already know their job, they are doing well. But private organizations don't really know how to help social worker, students, and all of that. So I don't even know, I asked them, do you have a social worker that I can understudy, that can train me? They said they don't. So I'm here to seek help as to what do I need to tell them? How can they help me? How can I also be of help to them? I asked that question because you presented on practicum. And the second question is to the person, Professor Nwana, who presented on disability. she mentioned something. She said, she kept on saying what ministered to her, the definition that, I guess she's trying to say that what she could relate to, the definition by WHO is that when there is a lack of impairment and environmental factors. So, okay, lack of interaction, thank you. So my question is, I really don't know when to draw the line. When you see somebody or a child acting extremely too quiet, that we call the introverts, and then you see a child that is extremely, sanguine and fun, because I have them in my house. And so as I was listening to her, I was asking, could it be that this child have whatever? I don't want to accept that, because I am personally so I know that they got it from me or from my husband. So I just want clarity. And then she also generalized that all of us at some point or the other, we have displayed disability at some point in our lives. So I really want clarity regards that, because as a social worker, you want to help someone. You don't know if you yourself are the borderline. And then how do you help somebody who needs your help? That's number 2. And the last person that presented, Mrs. Yemisi, on education. I initially wanted to talk about the formal and informal education, which you have done, sir. My question is, the foundation needs to collaborate more with the local governments. It is not enough to collaborate with the Rotary Club, but with the local government, because now that you have left that vicinity, what will they go back to do? Because as a matter of fact, your presence there has done a lot. But the moment you go back, I have been in that shoes. I've been a girl without a sanitary pad for many years. So I understand everything that you're talking about. But my question is, in order for your impact to last, to sustain, thank you, you need to, find a way such that this impact will be passed on to the next generation.
Thank
the
you.
Students. Okay,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Your observations are understood. Let's just get straight to the point. Make the questions, observations.
The moderator, thank you very much. The first issue is on the curriculum. I'm happy to say that about 4 academics I can see here participated in the development of curriculum. And I was also there. It is unfortunate that we did not cover all areas of social work practice in detail. But we identified 22 areas of social work practice in Nigeria, and we ensured that at least one course at one of the levels, 4 levels, one course was placed. And the 22 areas were spread over the, I can say 3 levels. Not in the first level, the first year, because the first year is usually dominated by these NUC general studies courses, and then the requirement for students to go outside the faculty and inside the faculty to take courses. So this took a lot of the credit hours that they were required to take at that level. So it is the second 200 level, 300 level, 400 level that these courses were spread. So there's at least 2 credit units were allocated to rehabilitation. But as you move to master's level, there are areas of specialization of which rehabilitation is one of them, and to take care of persons living with disability. So at 200 level, the person has to take a minimum of 3 courses. minimum of 3 courses in the area of specialization. So I think, Prof, yes, it's a nice presentation. I quite accept. But this problem that we had in the development of curriculum, I think you should have made the presenter to be aware that this is the problem we faced. Auxiliary social work. I also took part in that, and the problem she identified, we were confronted with it. First, NUC said that is not her own area, that she is concerned with undergraduate and postgraduate programs. National Board for Technical Education said, we are also not concerned with certificate courses. We are concerned with national diploma and higher national diploma. Therefore, there was a plea. There was a plea that National Board for Technical Education should house the curriculum. So they accepted that, yes, they will take part in it, moderate it to the standard required. With respect to let the certificate be acceptable to for admission into the National Diploma Program. They say that since it is not part of their own responsibility to prepare this curriculum, they have just accepted to take it. So they cannot say that they will go back and include it as one of the requirements for entry into National Diploma Program. Okay? So that's the issue. They said they will not. Also, we took into consideration the fact that some people who came to the program were already degree holders. So what they required was not really the auxiliary social work program. What they required was a postgraduate diploma in social work. But because this was not near them in terms of proximity, they opted for this auxiliary design. We said that, well, anybody who wants to further education should have the minimum requirement to go into that. Like if you want to go for ND, you require O-level, not just a certificate auxiliary design. The 9-month course that they used to do to enter into national diploma, immediately government stopped employing school leavers into that cadre. The staff development center stopped training in that area. So that was really the problem. Okay, with respect to curriculum, I know very well that University of Jos has a master's program in conflict resolution and management. They also have a PhD program there. There's also this institute in Abuja that is also concerned with running that program. So I know of 2 institutions that are offering masters and a PhD. Now, when you go for field practicum, since this professionalization is a new thing in Nigeria, we are just battling with it to perfect it. When you go to an institution and the institution does not have somebody who has a first degree to supervise undergraduates, or master's degree to supervise those who are on master's program and going for field practicum, or PhD. It is the responsibility of the university to assign a staff that will serve as a co-staff in that institution to ensure that you cover what the university is required in the area of field practicum in that your area of specialization. You are also supposed to pick up guidelines as provided by the institution. So when you raised this issue, the first thing I did was to ask Professor Nwana whether they don't have guidelines. And she said the university has a guideline. And I know very well that students behave like this. They are asked to go for field practicums. Sometimes they will collect letter only, introductory letter, and go. But there's supposed to be guideline to the agency supervisor. There's supposed to be another guideline for students. Okay? So ask your institution, they will give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick one. I will expect us to be extremely very brief. We have a timeline in the next 10 minutes. We are asked to shut down. But I have pleaded for like 15 minutes. So we have 2 presentations again. We have to just be very fast. Just one observation or question. Sister, I will give you just 1 minute to make your... No, please. Let sister go on. Let's take the questions first. If we cannot respond, we'll respond in the spirit.
It's a contribution, but vital.
Just 1 minute.
Very bad. What is this? Is that what we give to the students when they do their field work is equipping them for professionalism. Once we fail in that, we have failed. The University of Benin can be a witness to the center I ran in Benin. They went to Canada for their field work. But when I came, I told them, we have a center where the student can do their practicum, learn from home. And since 2018, they have been doing that. You are the best certificate you have for the profession, not the paper they give you. Once you are equipped, you have yourself to glory in and to offer that help and confidence to the people you're working with. If we failed our students in that area, we have failed. And the profession will be wobble. Thank you.
Very quickly, I think all the observations were mere additions to the presentations. There were mere additions. So let's take the next presentation. If there is still time, we'll ask one or two persons to make a response. But I think there was no real query of the watery nature of any presentation. But there was just qualitative addition in order to improve our knowledge base and the paper itself. Mrs. Onwana, we will take that. Let's take some of the presentations. No, please. Let's take the presentation so that if we will take 5 minutes the next 2 presentations. And immediately after the presentations, we break for lunch. And after the break for lunch, it is expected that there will be another breakout sessions, and you will locate these very halls and see which one calls your attention and interest. So you also be found there. Let's maximize the time we have at our disposal. Having said that, let me please invite Inosa Akasin from BUK to make his presentation, Social Work and Spirituality in Nigeria. 5 minutes on the dot, you are shut down.
Good afternoon, all. The slides, please. I will do it maybe in 3 minutes. So, profs, please, I'm not following the protocol of paper presentation. I'm a student of social welfare in BUK. Go on. Yeah. I just want to say that go to the background. This is what prompted me to this study. When I find this, that was research that was done by BBC in 1994 on belief in God or higher power. And based on the research, they say Nigeria is the most religious country. Go on. So the aim of this study is to close ways and avenue where social work can imbibe the aspect of spirituality. Because based on this, when I start to read over, I do a text review process to find out what does literature says about this spirituality. What is it? And it's discovered that everybody has it. Everybody has spirituality depending on what you can relate as spirituality, because every human being has a belief in something that is piloting his life. And he has a tenacity of obeying that. And that is why this work is to imbibe and to see how can we imbibe the aspect of spirituality that will help in social work. Because most of the time, during social work or social work practice, we try to present like our brother from Uganda, the presenter we try to present what we have in the books without taking into context what does that person believes in. What is his driving force? Whatever you will offer to him, as far as it is not in tandem with his own spirituality, is likely going to meet a lot of resistance. You might apply all the strategies, all the theories, but it might be difficult. So next slide. We have talked about context and concept of spirituality, which they are just academics. But what we should know that is spirituality is generally viewed as that which you have in you, that pilots your life, because we know that there is spirit, soul, and body. But in that spiritual realm, there is what always pilots someone. And as social workers, as people who are to make change, who are to be a helping organization, a helping profession, you have to know when you are meeting someone. Please, can we go to these are those concepts, how it starts. I look at Islamic perspective, the Baha'is. The Baha'is are some sects of people in Iran that have another set of belief. They are neither Muslims nor Christians. And then we go to what spirituality means to different set of people. What does it mean to different set of people? Yes, next slide. Then we find out that all that is being centered when you talk of social work is about for the well-being of the person. And that has a many nexus of emotional, spiritual, and mental and physical. Let's go to the next slide. We have some linked terms. You will have spirituality and religion, spirituality, religion, and culture. All these are linked. And I think as a social worker, all these things has to be understood before we try for any intervention we are going to do. I come from the north. Like I keep telling myself, we have so many revealed books only to the northerners. They are not found in any scripture, not any writing. You will find, let me give you one. Somebody can tell you, Chiwa, Arziki na Allah ne. That means wealth is from God. So if you are going to have to render social service that will help that person to lift up from that his position, while he has this kind of understanding, it might be very difficult if you don't know that he has this kind of spiritual understanding of his life. Next slide. Then we see what is, I said we will have all this spirituality, faith, and religion. Next slide. And culture. Now, there is a new concept that is being developed by Americans. They say it's not mandatory for anybody to be in any religion, but you can be spiritual. And they call it spiritual, not religious. It is currently thriving in the Western world. So like when our brother talk about the foreign content, very soon this thing will come to Africa. Okay, so one sister is confirming that it's already in Africa. People say you don't have to belong to any religion, but you must be spiritual because everybody has spirituality. Next slide. this is some reasons why we have to look at spirituality in social welfare provision. Next. Now, these are some of the things identified that persons like the first one, persons consumed by anxiety or dual depression have little ability to cultivate spiritual part, being a sway of distorted thoughts endlessly are repeated over time in their minds and mistaken to be packs like drunkard. So by the time we are working with the people, there are so many writers like Lumbrowski that talks about myths of happiness and the rest of things concerning individuals. But what is this DAY2 review is trying to find out and to bring out to light that even in curriculum planning, issue of spirituality has to be incorporated. Like when somebody says that the sister that presented in Rivers, they have to give them the context of how they can be able to reach out to the community. Next. Yeah, go to conclusion. These are all. Let's go to conclusion. No, please, stay, just spirituality and religion. No, go forward. Go forward. Next slide. Go forward. Mainstreaming spirituality in social work. Go back to the last slide. No, just leave us here because we have to finish. In conclusion, from this review, it can be seen that spirituality might not seem to be pronounced outwardly in daily affairs. It is, however, there and present in almost every human endeavor, as every individual has it, and may be subtly behind every action an individual does. This therefore implies that for effective social work, that is to bring about positive development leading to well-being, the spirituality of the clients should be taken into cognizance so that social worker can effectively work with, not work for the persons in arriving as strategies to remediate the distressful situations. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Very quickly, we're sorry we have to put you under very strange speed. Yeah, but fundamentally, we will look at your paper. Your paper was, okay, we'll look at the aspect of, I should think that your paper would have been able to exhume the difference between spirituality and religiosity. And also, you should have been able to interject the social work, ethical components as to what a social worker has to do when he or she finds himself in, okay, it's captured in the work. And also, I'm sure while practicing in this kind of atmosphere, you also find yourself in the spiritual dilemma between your aspect of spirituality drive and the aspect of your client's notion of spirituality, the conflict, and how you'll be able to manage and solve that in order to be on the same page. But thank you so very much for your presentation. Let's also quickly take the next presentation. That will be our last for today, or for this session. Fieldwork Education in Nigeria, Lessons from the Impact of COVID-19 and Ways Forward. And the presenter is Ayo Bade Adebowale. Is the presenter here? Okay, let's encourage her quickly. Let's encourage her. She's doing that with a team. And in the next 5 minutes, we hope you'll be...
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Fieldwork Education in Nigeria, Lessons from the Impact of COVID-19. The paper is being authored by Professor Nwana, my humble self, and our colleague in the department, Mrs. Sophia Takimbodi. Why do we have to come up with this study? The study becomes necessary during the COVID-19 experience. That was when we observed that fieldwork practicum is a major challenge during COVID-19 due to the issue of physical distancing. We were teaching online, and to teach students online is an easy task than going for field work practicum online. Social work profession is about theory and practice. It's a theoretical and practice-based profession. There's no how you can have the theoretical aspect of it without you fulfilling the practicum aspect of it, or else you are a half-big social worker. And it becomes so challenging that we started writing to agencies and they were turning us down. We started writing to agencies that usually help us with their field visits and field work practical, and they were turning us down. It becomes so challenging until only few agencies decided to pity our situation. By pitying our situation, instead of them to take the whole student at once, they'd be telling us that we can only send like 5, like 10. And we are having both full-time and part-time students. We have more than about 200 students. How do we do this? And they have just few hours. They have required number of hours. They can be, it's not an indefinite number of hours. So we arrive at this, and at a stage, only few agencies such as LUTH, medical social workers, decided that, okay, they will take them on Zoom. Taking them on Zoom also have its own challenge, because there are some units they need to visit while on field visit. They couldn't do that. So but they took them anyway, as in, like, it wasn't like a classwork, because they were not able to, they were not exposed to cases. They were not able to discuss with patients. They were not able to do so many things. Hence, we arrive at this study. Objective. Go to the objectives, please. So, yeah. The main objective of the studies are listed below, the specific and the 4 basic objectives. We were able to get things done. They wrote seminar papers. We were also looking at situations. We started coming up with cases in the class for them online, and majority of them could. But we, as a lead convener of fieldwork practicum and visits in my department, I wasn't that convinced that they've had enough. And we decided to put them in group, as in FGD. We decided to coordinate an FGD for them. So we have 5 male and 5 females for FGD, and they were telling us their experiences. Some of them were able to grasp certain things. You know, some of the social work students are there not because they love to be in social work, but because they were not admitted for their initial courses. So, but those that were there and were committed to be there, they actually imbibe a lot of things, and they were telling us their experiences, their challenges, their benefits. They did everything. So, and what we found out from the FGD we conducted for them was that some of the students love it the way it was done online. They wanted that. At least it saved them cost of transportation. Poverty. Some of them said they stayed so far, they don't want a situation whereby they be leaving their locations 3 times a week, spending XYZ number of hours at the agencies. They love it that much. While some people actually expressed their displeasure that they did not get enough education. They were not actually imparted, to the extent that by the time the lockdown was lifted, and there's another session now that we can actually visit agencies, I had to tell the ones of last year that, please, if you are interested, you can join us. And some of them actually joined to have that real fieldwork practicum. Fieldwork education is paramount, is sacrosanct to social work education. There is no how we would have imparted into them during the COVID-19 without their direct contact with cases and counseling and issues of life. I became a social worker from my fieldwork practicum as a diploma student. Despite the fact that I have 3 degrees in sociology, I chose to be a social worker, and I still went for a degree in social work just because of my experience during the fieldwork practicum as at that level then. So if a student is going through social work education and they are not actually grasping what they should grasp at the level of fieldwork practicum, I believe they are not a social worker, sincerely speaking. So at the end of the day, let's go to the recommendation. We have very short time. What's the way forward? Yes, evolving to render services online. How do we render social work online? Google Meet, Residence, Zoom, as in all this online platform of learning cannot actually give us the substance of fieldwork practicum. Please, let's go to the recommendation, please. Last. We need to shift. We need to shift from the traditional method. This is the challenge for us, for all of us in this class, that how do we now bring fieldwork practicum to an online experience? How do we introduce cases, online cases, despite our challenges of not actually having access to internet? Because having 24 hours access to the internet actually involves money. How do we now integrate online fieldwork? That's the challenge now, into fieldwork practicum. How? How do we approach the agencies also to be ready and get equipped for such impartation online, and students will still be able to have what they're supposed to have? That's the challenge now. So schools, in collaboration with social welfare agencies, can also utilize virtual content delivery in the provision of experiential knowledge to students. Because this world involves the eclectic use of various techniques, and the techniques that we are advocating for, that we are asking for, is for us to be able to do fieldwork online now. That's the main issue here. Thank you for listening to me.
Let's encourage her, please. Thank you. I'm sure we have done justice to these sessions. And well, let me just take one contributions or observation from Professor Nwana, who had been itching to say something, so that the next 5 minutes we should be out of here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to contribute to the practicum. The master student that went to an agency, institution, whether that agency could take you, whether they have staff, whether they have the resources to supervise you. Then every university, there should be a logbook which contains what you should know about field work and what you should do in the field, what your supervisor on the field should do, and what your faculty supervisor should do. So that logbook, your supervisor on the field and the one, your faculty supervisor, they have provision to assess you. So that is one thing. Then, somebody that said all the papers are not academic. Our own paper is academic. It's just because of short time. It went through every stages of academic paper. Now, the person that made comment about saying that WHO disability as interaction between what it means. WHO used 3 perspectives to define disabilities. This particular one is restriction. That is, when somebody, let's say somebody who is on wheelchair in a public building and there is no ramp, the person will not be able to achieve what he wants to do in that building. For instance, if it is in a university, if there are no ramps, it means that the students who have a class in first floor, second floor, will not be able to, except if their classmates assist them to climb up. That was what she meant. That is an interaction between the person and the environment. Now, the issue of generalizing, or that everybody at one point in time in life could experience disability, that is true. As you are aging, is that you have dementia, loss of hearing, waist pain? All these are disabilities. That's what we mean. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's why she's a prof. Let's encourage her again. Thank you for your disability expert explanations. We are glad, and I'm glad to let you know that the time here was qualitative enough. Yeah, just as a summary of what we have done, and the major emphasis is being on this field practicum thing, right? And I see it as both administrative lap and professional laxity on the administration of that program in that university. You don't just send people to just go to the field. There must be a collaboration between the department and the various agencies that run social work programs or social work activities. It is that interactive session, and it's not left for the students to negotiate what to do. And the question of what are we expected to do, send us an email for what we should do, is already starting a failed project. And I feel that pride should be put at the ground, and there should be a collaborative activity, a learning process, cross-learning process between the department and the established Department of Social Work in the University of Lagos. So I happen to have done a project for UNICEF in 2013. When I was 2011, I studied social workforce, from the teaching aspect in the whole universities and non-university institutions that run social work as a then. I was in that university as a then, but I will not share the findings. And you know that at 2011, there was no professional social worker in Lagos State University. All the people that mounted social work programs were sociologists at the near value of it. And so I knew what was found there. But come to think of it, what we must take from here is that, especially for the presentation of COVID-19 thing, you should have been able to take us to the aspect. You only identified the challenges for which field work was not able to clearly find its way as expected. Now, how were you able to come out of those challenges to not only make the students to feel that they are supposed to note field work thing, how were they able to come out of it? Even after COVID-19, remember the post-COVID-19 era, what did you do to blend the lacuna that you found out because you didn't prepare them for online field practicum? And so there was a lacuna there. How did you get that? That was also a challenge. But finally, it is noted that we must, all of us here, whether you are a student at graduate level, you are an academic, at whatever level, you must note that there is one template, the template of scholarship in social work. And it is only when there is adequate training that practice can get its way. And we are aware there are different departments. Now for the want of students at postgraduate level, everybody admits anything. You can come from, just like one institute doing, you come from engineering, provided you have this, you just cross over. You are doing an MSc program. You come from wherever you do, and the closest of it, social work, psychology, that afterwards they are all treating human beings and human issues. So you can do a master's program. We must call a spade a spade. We must stand our grounds, hold firm to what professionalism is. Social work is not a general academic discipline. It's both academic and professional. So your professional value will start from your date of admission, the process of training, and what it takes for individuals to gain knowledge. Thank you very much. God bless all of you. See you much later.